Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 6th edition of the International Flight Safety Seminar for CAAs and Operators with me, Shin-Jie, as the host for today's seminar. Well, before we begin, I would like to extend our warmest gratitude from the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transportation of Republic of Korea to all the participants for joining us here today in this very unique and meaningful occasion. Well, as today's seminar is held in a hybrid style, we're currently streaming live our sessions through the YouTube channel of IFSSCO, both in Korean and English. And each session will feature the presentations from designated speakers, followed by a Q&A session where we'll be engaging in active discussions. So, as I truly hope that this will be a valuable opportunity for all of us, let us now commence the opening session. To begin with, I would like to invite to the stage for the opening address the Deputy Minister of Civil Aviation, Dong Soo-ha of the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport of Republic of Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good morning, Honorable Secretary General of ICAO, Mr. Juan Carlos Salazar, President of the Air Navigation Commission, Mr. Padraig Kelleher, Ministers, Director Generals of Civil Aviation Authorities, delegates, and distinguished guests. I sincerely welcome you to the 6th International Flight Safety Seminar. For the past 3 years, we went through the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. The aviation industry is now expected to be back on track. At such an opportune moment, I'm very pleased to host the seminar, which will be on platform to share their experiences and exchange safety policy directions. According to the statistics by IATA, international passenger traffic last December was restored to 75% of the pre-pandemic level, and the load factor was at 82%. What can we do at the forefront of aviation safety to respond to the fast-changing industry? First of all, I believe we should recognize the current situation and adapt to the new normal. In the aviation industry, we must continue to develop various measures and the procedures we established during the COVID-19 pandemic to be prepared for another pandemic that might be on our way. In addition, aviation safety policies should be implemented in line with the international standards of ICAO, and the current aviation safety system should be ready to integrate rapidly developing advanced air mobility. Last but not least, we'll need to continue to develop the capacity of aviation personnel through training and ensure we have a sufficient number of these personnel, as the industry had to cut jobs during the pandemic. In response to the skyrocketing air traffic, we would also need to work to identify and mitigate aviation safety risks in advance. Sound implementation of aviation safety oversight systems lie at the foundation of all our efforts. These will help us to ensure a safe, orderly, and efficient aviation environment. The seminar is organized to open the floor for discussions on the issues I've just mentioned. I hope that ICAO, the member state, international organizations, and the industry will come together to share their opinions and get insights on establishing post-pandemic policies during the seminar. I wish you all good health happiness, and success. Once again, welcome to the seminar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister, for opening today's seminar with your open remarks. Yes, as the aviation industry is recovering, today's seminar will be an important stepping stone for all of us to, navigate our better future together. And now moving on, I would like to invite to the stage for congratulatory remarks, Secretary General Juan Carlos Salazar of ICAO. Please welcome him to the stage with a big round of applause.
Deputy Minister Dong Soo-ha, President of the ANC, ICAO reps and colleagues from the organization, all civil aviation authorities, operators that are being present here. Good morning to everyone. In the first place, allow me to express ICAO's congratulations to the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport of the Republic of Korea for organizing this 6th International Flight Safety Seminar for civil aviation authorities and operators here in the beautiful city of Seoul. The World Health Organization has declared that the COVID-19 emergency is over, and we are all relieved by this. But as citizens of the world and as members of the aviation community, for us as an industry is just the beginning. There are many challenges ahead, and events like this one continue to help us transition from our recovery footing back to more normalized operations and even growth. The program for this seminar focuses on post-COVID-19 pandemic challenges to the aviation sector and on sustainable system reliance against future pandemics and other possible disruptions. It also identifies the safety operational measures to be attended to in order to secure a safe return to operations. Participants are encouraged to share your perspectives and experiences during the sessions, especially concerning key post-COVID pandemic resilience factors. This will include your current operations and technology capacities, the human and financial resources status, and stakeholder considerations. A first key priority in building back better will be innovation and the fast tracking of new technologies which support the digitalization and sustainability of air services. We should also seek to realize increased support for ICAO Trainer Plus and the next generation of aviation professional programs, keeping in mind the key role of each in enabling and optimizing system recovery. Our plates are full in terms of air transport innovation, including not only resilience digitalization, but also many new types of aircraft, technologies, and operations. And alongside the integration of these new solutions and new entrants to civil aviation, we must also manage the safe and orderly resumption of traffic growth and pay special attention to our overall decarbonization objectives. On that topic, while air transport has been widely recognized in the past as a hard-to-decarbonize sector, today airlines and airport operators and aircraft manufacturers are focusing much less on the only 2% that the air transport contributes to global CO2 emissions annually, and much more on what we can, or better, what we must do in order to reduce the carbon footprint. To support the states attaining the long-term global aspirational goal of carbon neutral or net zero international flights by the year 2050, which the countries adopted at the 41st Assembly last October, we will be prioritizing the work program of the organization. We are also reviewing other emerging priorities like cybersecurity, like the new entrance and the advanced air mobility, and alongside with resilience to the next global disasters. You can expect to hear more on this topic as we prepare for the next budgetary cycle, starting with the Air Navigation World events scheduled later this year in Montreal and Singapore, as well as at the 14th Air Navigation Conference that is planned for the year 2024. In conclusion, over the next few days, you will discuss a range of topics including competitiveness, air navigation efficiency and capacity, safety, security, environmental protection, innovation, human resources, and good governance. You will also importantly explore how we can work together to effectively devise and implement strategic plans to address the many challenges going forward. We are precisely here in Korea having the Global Implementation Support Symposium, where we are identifying the ways how regulators and new emerging challenges can be worked alongside with the capacity development and implementation support that we owe. I encourage you all to actively participate in these discussions, to share your perspectives and contribute to the outcomes of this seminar. Let us work together to enhance safety and as we emerge together from this pandemic recovery period and to harness the collective experience and the lessons learned for the benefit of this region and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, for the congratulatory remarks. Yes, there are challenges ahead for the members of the aviation industry, so we will have to work together in order to normalize and to achieve the post-pandemic resilience. And now moving on, we will have another congratulatory speech brought to you by the President Tae-sung Lee of Korea Institute of Aviation Safety Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate the opening of the 6th International Flight Safety Seminar for Civil Aviation Authorities and Operators. It is a great honor for me to share this momentous occasion with so many of the industry's leading authorities and safety professionals in the field of aviation. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the distinguished guests here, including Juan Carlos Salazar, the Secretary General of the ICAO, and Mr. Dong-Soo Ha, the Deputy Minister for Civil Aviation of the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transportation of Korea. I'd like to remind you that the Aviation Safety Seminar, which was held first in 2006, as a part of the collaborative efforts between Korea and the United States, served as a precursor to the International Flight Safety Seminar. Its significance and contribution to the aviation were widely recognized. As a consequence, since 2014, the seminar has been promoted as an international event organized by the MOLIT of Korea for the ICAO members, encompassing every aspect of the global aviation safety. Unfortunately, the epidemic forced the meeting to be postponed for a few years, but now I'm so grateful that we are able to gather here and resume the International Flight Safety Seminar. As the world has entered the post-COVID-19 era, the demand for the air transportation has increased drastically, and the International Air Transportation Association forecasted that the number of the passengers across the world in 2024 will reach 4 billion, which is slightly higher than the figure in 2019. Amid the current environment that is undergoing unexpectedly rapid change, similar to those occurred during the pandemic, the aviation industry is likewise facing a variety of new problems and challenges. In response, this conference will discuss various topics, including the management, new technologies, and innovation for aviation safety. Also, the various topics related to the training for the flight safety enhancement. Last but not least, the aviation safety management in the Asia-Pacific region. I believe that this seminar can provide the opportunity to establish advanced aviation safety policies and lay out a solid foundation for the aviation industry to address the upcoming challenges. Therefore, your active participation during the next 2 days would be highly appreciated so that we could have a really meaningful and fruitful discussions. Based on the mission of the IFSSCO, we at CAST will exert best effort in our activities and the research for the aviation and navigation safety. In light of the theme of working together for the reinforcing aviation safety, we pledge our support for your aviation safety initiatives. Lastly, I would like to thank the MOLIT and the associate personnel for their hard work in organizing this conference. And I would also like to express my gratitude once more to everyone for being present today, and I hope that you enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, President, for the congratulatory remarks. As it has been throughout the past years, well, this seminar will continue to serve for the safety of the aviation community. And now, moving on, we are going to have the keynote speeches where we will start to dive into the real matters. First of all, we will have a keynote speech from President Patrick Kelleher of Air Navigation Commission of ICAO, who will be presenting about ICAO's flight safety policy during aviation recovery. Let us welcome him with a big round of applause.
Honourable Deputy Minister, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished guests in person and online, good morning. It's an honour to be invited to address you today as we begin the 6th International Flight Safety Seminar for CAAs and operators, and I join the Secretary General in thanking the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport for so kindly hosting us. As we meet to discuss flight safety enhancement during aviation recovery period, ICAO is forecasting that air passenger demand will be back to pre-pandemic levels on most routes by the end of this year. Indeed, ICAO is forecasting an overall growth of about 3% compared to 2019. And so we genuinely find ourselves in a period of recovery. On the face of it, this is excellent news. But as the Deputy Minister and Secretary General have indicated, this resurgence is occurring while the aviation community is still recovering and rebuilding its resilience, working to embrace new airspace users, technologies and business models, and also directing considerable effort to the challenge of creating a net zero emissions future. It is these challenges that have set our agenda for this seminar. At the heart of our discussions today and tomorrow is the need to meet these challenges while also continuing to secure the high level of safety that the travelling public has come to expect of this industry. And as I share with you my personal perspective on ICAO flight safety policy during this recovery, I recognize that ICAO is just one part of a global community that shares a commitment to retaining high safety performance, even as we work together to embrace change and the benefits it promises. And this commitment is reflected in ICAO's flight safety policies, which focus on securing safety, just as the global community works to build resilience, to integrate new airspace users, technologies, and business models, and to deliver on LTAG, the long-term aspirational goal. So let me take these in turn. Resilience, new users, technologies, and business models, and LTAG. In relation to resilience, ICAO safety policies focus on learning lessons from the pandemic, helping to spread best practice, improving awareness and decision-making, improving cooperation and collaboration among states, and helping the global community to secure and retain the competent personnel needed to assure continuing high safety levels globally. If you check ICAO's current business plan and work program online, you will find quite a list of related activities. Many of these relating to the supporting implementation and capacity building were discussed earlier this week at ICAO's GISS conference. And our conversations today and tomorrow will no doubt include many of the others. So I am just going to pick out some examples rather than go through the full list. 3 examples in relation to resilience. The first is about applying lessons learned during the pandemic in supporting continued recovery. ICAO is considering which of these lessons to take forward in the ICAO SARPs, or guidance material, to improve resilience in the aviation system. Examples include revised provisions for renewing and extending licenses, assessments, and other certificates, revised provisions for granting and lifting exemptions or alleviations, and guidance for the conduct of remote oversight activities. Lessons learned are also being applied in ICAO's security and facilitation provisions to improve the regulatory framework and better support air transport in times of global crisis. The second policy in relation to resilience that I wanted to pick out is promoting and supporting the use of state safety programs. ICAO saw that states with a sound state safety program generally found it easier to adapt and address the new risks arising during the pandemic. And so there will be a renewed emphasis on SSP implementation as another important policy aimed at improving resilience and upholding safety levels. And my third and final resilience initiative is to continue efforts to widen the appeal of aviation as a career choice. Given the need for aviation to rebuild its people capacity, it needs to be able to draw on as wide a pool of talented people as possible. ICAO has work underway within its personnel training and licensing panel to improve access to aviation for underrepresented groups. And I hope you won't mind if I also advertise ICAO's Global Aviation Gender Summit happening in Madrid in July. Moving away from resilience and turning next to new airspace users, new technologies, and new business models. I think most people will be aware that ICAO closely monitors these developments globally and on an ongoing basis. A number of ICAO events are designed specifically for this purpose, such as the regular environmental stocktake exercise, Drone Enable, or the ICAO Innovation Fair. And ICAO also organizes specific events like an advanced air mobility event being planned for September next year. ICAO sees the surge in these developments continuing unabated, and its related safety policies focus on facilitating their introduction so that the related benefits are available globally in a safe and timely manner. I'd like to pick out 2 related initiatives. The first relates to ICAO's own regulatory processes. Although an innovator's path to market is primarily through engagement with state regulatory bodies, ICAO recognizes the value that a global regulatory framework can offer to ensure timely availability of the related benefits as globally as possible. So ICAO intends to sustain its effort in monitoring these activities and maintaining a dialogue with those involved. But ICAO is also working to better formalize how it decides when to commit to developing SARPs and guidance materials, and also how it might accelerate its SARP and guidance material development process. And the second initiative I would like to draw your attention to is about assessing the need for SARPs and the delivery process. ICAO is already focused on providing a global framework for some of the new users, technologies, and business models. Earlier this year, ICAO established an advanced air mobility study group tasked with scoping out the work that ICAO needs to do in this important field. There is work already underway within ICAO's current work program that is applicable to the new users, technologies, and business models. And if I just pick out one example, ICAO's safety management panel is looking at new approaches to safety management that are specifically designed to address new complex systems and better manage complex software and variations in human performance. And there are many, many other examples which I could mention. I do, however, want to make a quick aside to point out that the surge in innovation is not confined to aviation. Other industries are surging too, and many are competing with aviation for people, for funding, and for access to natural resources. And I wanted to pick out one example which ICAO sees as critical to aviation's future development and continued high safety levels, and that is radio frequency spectrum. It's part of aviation's critical infrastructure that has tended to be taken for granted in the past. Aviation was fortunate to secure a comprehensive allocation of this scarce resource when there was little demand from other industries. But today, many significant global industries have a growing need for spectrum. To ensure that aviation can access the spectrum it needs now and for the future, ICAO has been calling for more focus in aviation on spectrum. First, by using our allocated spectrum as efficiently as possible, and second, by being really clear what our true needs are today and in the future, and making the case for aviation at the regular World Radio Communication conferences organized by the International Telecommunications Union. These conversations are getting tougher and tougher, but radio frequency spectrum is a critical infrastructure for aviation and one that we must not take for granted. Let me move on from the new users, new technologies, and new business models and turn next to LTAG, the long-term aspirational goal for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Signed at the Assembly last year, this milestone agreement served to increase the already significant impetus for change underway across the industry, seeking improvements through fuels, technology, and operational change. Understandably, SAF, sustainable aviation fuels, dominates, as does excitement about novel aircraft configurations and new propulsion systems. But this audience will be aware of the extraordinary range of change that's already available or on its way. For example, the many years of effort to maximize the efficient use of airspace not only accommodates increased traffic levels safely, but also reduces track miles, fuel burn, and emissions. Already available are much improved methods for coordination and management of airport, air navigation services, and flight operations, exploiting the latest advantages in satellite communications and navigation, and best practices in air traffic flow management, performance-based navigation, and the flexible use of airspace. Work within ICAO's panels continues towards trajectory-based operations, supported by the evolving Flight and Flow Information for a Collaborative Environment, or FFICE, concept for future ATM operations. So, as well as working to accommodate new ideas, there are a range of already proven opportunities available for wider global implementation, and more on the way. ICAO's flight safety policies focus not only on assisting in the safe introduction of new and innovative solutions, but also encouraging wider implementation of existing solutions. Let me share 3 examples of ICAO's related policy work. In relation to encouraging implementation of proven opportunities, I'd like to pick out flexible use of airspace. This is a cooperative arrangement between civil and military users of airspace, which at its most basic gives the military access to the airspace it needs when it needs it, but when it no longer needs the airspace, makes it available for civil traffic. Some states have developed this approach to the extent that they can routinely switch airspace from one user group to the other in a matter of minutes. These states create more capacity to accommodate new users and growing traffic, and more opportunity for direct routings at optimal flight levels, resulting in reduced track miles, reduced fuel burn, and reduced emissions. But despite a big effort from ICAO recently to promote this opportunity globally and to provide guidance, every ICAO region is reporting that the benefits of this approach are not being achieved everywhere that they should be. ICAO is trying to help further, this time by focusing on having a better conversation with the military aviation community so that they can have confidence in the approach and see the benefits for them, for their citizens, and for the planet. Eurocontrol will host an event next month with support from ICAO experts to get this conversation started. The second example is reprioritizing the work program to increase the focus on LTAG enablers. The significance of the LTAG challenge is such that ICAO wants to be absolutely clear which activities in its work program it must resource as a priority. This work is ongoing, but it is already clear that a significant amount of current and planned work already aligns with this priority. By the end of this year, we should have a much better focus on our LTAG supportive activities across all domains, whether it be improving implementation of existing opportunities or securing the benefits of new approaches in a safe and timely way. And finally, I did need to mention that ICAO is planning a major update to its Global Air Navigation Plan, our main policy document leading to improvements in the capacity and efficiency of the global air navigation system. Before I conclude, let me pick up briefly on a point made by the Secretary General. ICAO is arranging a sequence of events to shape its future flight safety policy options so that firm policy decisions can be reached at the 42nd Assembly in 2025. This process begins in August at the ICAO World Navigation Conference, followed next year by an ICAO Air Navigation Conference. The intent is that these events will define the priority activities for ICAO's work program, allowing ICAO to provide the 42nd Assembly with a clear proposal for what it will work on and the related resources. I want to emphasize how important it is for those who would contribute at an assembly to use these opportunities to help shape ICAO's work program and help ICAO to better identify the resource needed to deliver it. Information is already widely available for the symposium in August, and information about next year's Air Navigation Conference will appear in the coming weeks. So please do engage with these conferences and help ICAO to really shape its program for the future. And finally, this time of recovery is also a time of change, opportunity, and significant challenge in aviation. I hope my perspective on ICAO's flight safety policy during this recovery helps set the scene for our discussions today and tomorrow. And let me close by thanking you for your kind attention and by wishing each of you a successful, informative, and constructive conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Patrick Kelleher, for the keynote speech. He has outlined the initiative that ACAO seeks to push forward for the resilience for the aviation society. Well, let us do everything we can in order to help ACAO in every way possible. And now moving on, we're to have another keynote speech prepared by Executive Director Patrick Key of European Union Aviation Safety Agency. He will be presenting to us about the flight safety policy for safer aviation recovery. However, he was unable to join us here in person. So instead, he has sent his keynote speech in a video. So why don't we watch it through the screen?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to speak to you today. I'm sorry that I am unable to join you personally at the 6th International Flight Safety Seminar for CAAs and operators. I will use my remarks today to look at the COVID-19 aviation return to service from the European perspective, where we are today and the outlook for the future. For this, I would like to begin by looking back at those very early days in 2020, when COVID-19 was a completely unknown disease and everyone was struggling to come to terms with the uncertainty of the situation. In the early days of the outbreak, knowledge was scarce, and just like many of you, we at EASA did not foresee the extent of the impact this would have on the sector. We were fortunate to have in-house technical expertise in aviation medicine and a strong partnership with the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, established through working together on topics like SARS and Ebola. This made possible the publication of a first set of recommendations as early as January. This partnership with the CDC also allowed us to develop an aviation health and safety protocol, which was instrumental in starting operations again in summer 2020. In Europe, 70% of flights cross at least one national border, and since health is a national competence, this protocol became the main reference underpinning the restart of air traffic in Europe. At the same time, we created, with European stakeholders, a dedicated task force to assess the impact of the pandemic. As part of this project, we looked at multiple areas, including the impact of storing aircraft, transport of cargo on passenger aircraft, remote oversight methodologies, exemptions to ensure licenses would not be rendered invalid, and many other measures that you are most likely familiar by now. As operations resumed, we discovered some additional safety risks up until then not anticipated. For instance, due to more direct trajectories, pilots flew unknown patterns resulting in a surge of unstabilized approaches. We also had an issue with bird strikes, with wildlife having accumulated in larger numbers at quiet airports. And then we also had challenges in staffing, in particular like last year at European airports. Looking back, we took at the same time a conservative and adaptive approach to the issues at stake. Yet, amidst all these challenges, the impact on aviation safety through the entire COVID-19 pandemic remained contained. This was thanks to the vigilance and good safety culture of all parties in the aviation community. And this brings me to today. As we approach summer 2023, traffic levels in Europe are now above 90% of April 2019 levels. With WHO now having declared the end of COVID-19 pandemic and an almost complete recovery in aviation from the associated impact, now could be the moment to say that this crisis is behind us. Or is it? What we have very clearly learned from this experience is that a health emergency can have a paralyzing effect on our industry. The crisis response at global level called for all stakeholders to come together to overcome this challenge, and we did it. Aviation is fortunately well equipped for that due to its high degree of international harmonization and world-class risk management approach. Yet, interfacing with other sectors was the challenge, as they often do not share the same perspectives or tools, in particular in terms of risk management. After all, health is national competence the world over, while aviation is by its nature an international cross-border activity. Ladies and gentlemen, the aviation sector showed during the COVID-19 pandemic that it has the capacity to properly implement preventive measures as long as they are well communicated, mutually recognized, and harmonized at global level. It is essential that we all learn from this dramatic experience and prepare better for the next comparable emergency. In any crisis, there is also opportunity. There is a new normal emerging after the crisis, also spearheaded by technological developments. Innovation is unfolding in front of our eyes, impacting our global society in a profoundly transformative way. Aviation is driving those changes. New modes of urban aerial transport are emerging. AI is starting to show its abilities, and new engine and fuel technologies give us hope that the growth of aviation can indeed be achieved in a sustainable manner. In this context, it is worth to remember that innovation is never driven by regulators, but by the industry. Yet, our duty remains ensuring that this innovation also makes aviation safer and more sustainable. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a most successful event. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Executive Director, for sending us the video, though you were not able to be here with us in person. He has shared with us the safety policy for a safer recovery, that yes, the conversations, the communication as well as regulation is indeed important for us to pave our way for a better future.